Welcome back to the Messianic Hour. I'm Judy Sekulow, and I'm glad that you're with us today. And on the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about the Festival of Sukkot, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles.
Or the Feast of Booths, or God dwelling among us.
But you hear tabernacles more in a church environment. So this way, the true name is Sukkot, but Sukkot means tabernacling. So they've just...
And before we get into this, I do want to encourage our listening audience. We need to pray for Pastor Yosef. He is the pastor who's in Iran, who's being accused. He's literally on a death watch right now. He's been accused by the Iranian government of being a believer in Messiah. And there it is a death penalty, and they're trying to make up other false accusations. I encourage you to go to the aclj.org for more information. You can sign their petition there. I really want to encourage y'all to do that. My nephew Jordan has been really spearheading this project a lot, trying to literally save this man's life. He has 2 young children. Go check that out, and we'll have a link on our website as well to theirs. But you really want to pray for him, pray for his family, pray that God really intervenes, and it's already made a difference. Unfortunately, they're trying to make other accusations as well. But as this feast is talking about, God dwelling among us, he dwells with our brother there too, and he's in our prayers. So, Judy, now let's talk about the Feast of Sukkot.
Well, Sukkot is a holiday of immense joy. We're
It's the most joyous of all our feasts.
We're kind of closing out this high holiday season, and it's really where you kind of express your complete trust in God and celebrate the confidence of having received a good judgment for the coming year. It's typical that you build a temporary dwelling, a booth, three-sided, a sukkah.
Which in Greek means manger.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yes.
Hold on. Little teaser there. And it has an open roof so that you can see the stars. You're going to sit in this for 7 days. You're going to eat in it. People will sleep in it. And really, it kind of reminds us that the Israelites lived in these temporary dwellings during the 40 years that they wandered in the desert, and that God is our ultimate protection, just as he protected the Israelites in the desert with the clouds of glory. And we see this on Exodus 13, verse 21. But also during this season, we wave a lulav and an etrog. And an etrog
is
kind
a
of
lemon on steroids.
How did I know you were going to say that? After 23 years, I don't even read your mind. I just know what's going to come out of your mouth.
Know my mind.
It's really a citron, and it's a fragrant fruit. It has a thick white rind. Often it's picked from the tree when it's green, and then it ripens to this really bright yellow. And I know that we're starting to kind of record the radio show, so when we actually get closer to the holiday, we have one on order, but they don't send it so they're fresh.
Right.
Maybe we'll have to do a little show and tell.
Well, we're working on YouTube videos, and they'll be able to see it on there. We'll load it up. There.
And then you have your lulav, and your lulav is 3 branches. It's a palm, a myrtle, and a willow. And the palm branch is often defined by beauty, and it's got a straight shape, and its leaves are tightly bound. The myrtle is a plaited pattern of 3 leaves coming out of the same point in the branch. And then the willow is it's got those oblong leaves.
And Judy, one thing too with the palm branch, that was used when to usher in the king, and that's why we see the believers when Yeshua came in riding on the donkey, proclaiming his messiahship, his kingship, they would put palm branches down in front of it. That's why they did that.
And you're going to bind all of those together. You're going to have two willows on the left, a palm branch in the center, like you said, and then 3 willows on the right. And then you wave them, you lift them, and you're going to shake them north, south, east, and west, which really kind of shows that God has mastery over the entire world, over the entire universe.
Exactly. So once we do that, again, we fellowship in the sukkah. Many people you can sleep in it, at least have a meal in it. And who do they use? Who should you invite besides family and friends?
You should invite the patriarchs.
That's right. You can invite Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Maybe you can invite Matthew, Mark, Luke, Peter, all of them. And that's what was done. Now, why are we inviting the dead? You're inviting them to come and, again, dwell among us. We see this as they're not dead. They're living in Messiah. And it was very interesting because this would have been a great time for the disciples to share their faith in Messiah as they would gather their friends and they would tell the story of the miracle that took place in a sukkah where our Messiah was born. And so we see this great picture of how this all comes together.
And we know that all of the feasts and festivals kind of foreshadow, when God put them in place, the coming Messiah.
Right.
And we know that Yeshua tabernacled with us physically during his time on earth. And we know that he's going to tabernacle with us again. So it probably, while we can say he fulfilled it with his first coming, he's going to
at least
fulfill
a partial fulfillment.
He's going to fulfill it again with that 1,000-year reign
Exactly.
on earth. But it makes sense that the important events in Messiah's life is going to line up with the feasts and festivals.
The festivals of the Lord. And you bring up an interesting point, too, and we now have the Holy Spirit that dwells with us. Again, God dwelling among us. So we see this connection, but it's very important to understand that these feasts, both the spring feast of the Lord and the fall feast of the Lord, all have major events take place in our Messiah's life. From what we see here, the birth on the first day he is born, 8th day is the circumcision. The first and the 8th day of this feast are Sabbath days of rest, or Sabbath Gadol's high Sabbath, which means they can happen any day of the week. It doesn't have to be a Friday night to a Saturday night. This year it's a Wednesday night. You never know what year, according to the calendar. We follow the lunar calendar, so it's a little different than the calendar that we have. And that's how we have that all come to place. But we have to understand these are God's feasts. He's the one who commanded anyone who believes in him to follow him. So if you're Jewish, you should obviously do this. If you're Gentile and believe in the Jewish Messiah, Yeshua, then you should obviously do these as well. And we'll be doing them in heaven. So you might as well get a head start on this as we will come and dwell. Matter of fact, it says in those times, Judy, if the nations don't come up at those times, they're not going to get any water in their land. So this is a very important time. And that kind of brings us to the 8th day of the bringing of the water. You want to tell me about that?
No,
you want
me
to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll. I'm on a bagel. So here we go. I got her to laugh. Okay, so we have this situation. The 8th day is when they would go and get the water, and they would then take it into the temple. The high priest would go and take it, and it's a very important occasion. And this would thank God in advance for the upcoming harvest they would give. They would give the spring rains that were needed for the next harvest. But Yeshua stands there and he proclaims that he is the living waters, that anyone who drinks from his water will never go thirsty. We see that connection of how this all comes into being and takes place, the importance of Yeshua standing there and doing this. Also, we know from the scripture, too, when you look at Matthew in his birth and then Luke on his birth, one of the visions is that they go and visit him in the manger, right? And then the wise men come, and it's not 2 years. We'll have to probably talk about that next time. It's not a 2-year cycle. It's probably at the most, it has to be done in less than 43 days, because that's when a woman is, once her cycle being unclean. They then come, and it says that they entered the house. In other words, Sukkot is over. And so we see that take place and how that comes together.
Well, we also know that Sukkot is another pilgrimage festival to Jerusalem. And Bethlehem, where Messiah was born, is just about 5 to 7 miles outside of Jerusalem. So that's where the overflow went.
Right.
Jerusalem's population would swell dramatically. There wouldn't be enough rooms, so they would go to Bethlehem. Bethlenem's population is going to swell dramatically.
Right. And they were also going for the census. And where is Miriam and Joseph's home spot? Right there. So they go to their house. There's no room there. Why? Because of the feast and everything going on. So they stay in the sukkah, in the manger. And he, being a carpenter, would build something for the family. He's a poor family. That he knows they would need a food trough afterwards. He builds a thing to hold the baby and makes it that same way. So we see how this all comes together and how our Messiah was born at Sukkot when God dwells among us. It's a beautiful picture. If you want more information, visit our website, rabbiscott.com. Click on Feast of the Lord to learn more about this great feast and how you can celebrate it as well. Want to encourage you again, visit the website, sign up for our newsletter, get the free gift, the book, I Have a Friend Who's Jewish to You, and the prophecy card. You can also plant a tree in Israel. Also, you can support this. We are a listener-supported radio show, and we'd love to have you as a partner with us in this great work. But until next week, this is Rabbi Scott
and Judy
saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Perfect.